Hello and welcome back to the channel where today we are going to be talking all about 170 that went down this past weekend at the Impact Arena in Bangkok. It was a fantastic card. So I am super excited to dive into each and every fight from 170 with you guys here on the One Report as we always do. We are getting near to that 1,000 subscribers mark, so please do drop a subscribe if you're new here. There is, I suppose, a little bit of an elephant in the room to get to regarding the future of this channel. I've mentioned this a couple of times now. I will talk about that at the end of this video. So stick around and we will get to that. But of course, as we like to do here on this channel, we are going to start our Monday morning here in lovely, I was going to say grey England. It's quite sunny actually today. It's cold but sunny for a change. But we are going to start our Monday morning, as we like to do here on this channel, with a lovely cup of tea, talking about the fights from this past weekend. And boy, were there some fights. Not just in one championship, there were some good fights in multiple places, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about one championship, and we are going to talk about 170, which, as I said, great card. Really, really enjoyed it. Tons of good performances, tons of fun fights, and let's get into it. I think we're going to start from the bottom, make our way up. Hopefully, I'll remember to leave enough time to talk about the big fights. And we're not here for absolutely ages. But stick with me. Go get yourself a drink, maybe a cup of tea. If that's an option, I would highly recommend it. I've already had a coffee this morning, hence why the energy levels are higher than they usually are on a Monday morning. But let's talk about it, because how are the energy levels not going to be high when we have these fights to talk about? We kicked off the card with a striking bout between Freddie Haggerty and the debuting Jordan Estupinan. As I said in my preview, didn't really know what to expect from Estupinan, but I was kind of making judgments based on what we've seen from his brother, who also competed on this card a little bit higher up. And that was a good assessment, because there was certainly a bunch of similarities between them in terms of their style. It's quite... I don't really know what the word is to describe the style of the Estupinans. It's kind of like... I don't know. What's the word? It's unpredictable. It's kind of off kilter, if that makes sense to you. It's certainly unique. And yeah, it's certainly entertaining. We can say that much. I actually missed these first couple of fights and had to go back to them. Because of a dentist appointment trying to get in the way. Those are the things you have to deal with when these cards are on at the local time for Thailand. It's about lunchtime for me here in the UK. So I was actually on public transport at the time where this card started, and I didn't realize. So basically, I thought that this was a good fight. But the power difference for Jordan Estupinan was clearly on display here. Whilst I think Freddie is very, very good, you could tell immediately that not only is Jordan Estupinan maybe a little bit further down the line in terms of his athletic ability. I mean, him and his brother are both crazy explosive and fast. Really, really good athletes. And I just don't know if Freddie is quite there yet. I think his skill set is very good, but I think the athleticism made a huge difference here. Not that, I don't think it's like I hate the term fraud check. I really do. It's certainly not a fraud check for Freddie Haggerty. He'll be back better from this. I mean, look at his brother. Jonathan's had some big losses during his time in one championship, and he always seems to come back better than before. I don't doubt that Freddie will do the same. Maybe just shows that he needs a little bit more time to develop before you're taking on some of these guys like Estupinan, who are just, I think you could chuck Jordan a little bit higher up and he'll do quite well. Based off the fact that he is so athletic and so dangerous, that is going to weigh a lot of fights in his favor, even if he's at a skill disadvantage. Second fight of the night between Yanlek and Tantzin. There was a reason that this fight was put kind of as I suppose you could call it the featured prelim. I mean, it wasn't really, but the reason it was so low down, I mean, first of all, both guys aren't necessarily established names in one championship, and this was a pretty stacked card, but get the fans in there early, the fans that want to support both of these guys, specifically Tanzin, who, of course, was super fun to watch on his debut against Takiru last year. Crowd were there for this. Place was bouncing. It felt like from watching it from home, it felt like we were in Lumpini with how loud it was in there. Sometimes you lose that a little bit with the bigger arenas, but the atmosphere was fantastic. It still felt very lively in there from the second fight on. I think this was this was something that one championship need to be doing with every big card. I think put a matchup between two guys that not only are going to bring it, but are also going to bring fans into the building nice and early. I suppose it helps when you've got these Burmese fighters on these cards. Can't say he's Burmese, isn't he? Yeah. Just double checking there before I get that wrong. And yeah, that helped. And it was a really, really fun fight. Suryanek ended up getting the stoppage after looking like his leg was done in that first round. I genuinely thought that it was going to be stopped, but he managed to pull off a really remarkable comeback, actually. And I don't think he got a bonus, did he? Let's have a look. Yeah, no, it's just the title fights and Zinsmut, who we'll get to a little bit later on. But yeah, really, really fun fight to kick off this card. And I really enjoyed the first fight of, I suppose you could say they do kind of split the cards in a way. So I don't know. But either way, the next fight that we had between Japan's Masaki Noiri taking on Shakir Al-Takriti. I was nervous for Noiri in this fight because Takriti looked so much bigger than him. And I know that people have spoken about this a lot since Noiri has come over to one, whether he is big enough to compete in this featherweight kickboxing division, whether he can impose his style. And this was such a better showing from Noiri. I don't know. As I said, I believe in the preview, I don't know how much you can chalk this up to his previous opponents making a difference, as well as the performance itself. But yeah, it was good to see Noiri get in the win column. Those leg kicks, I mean, I'm pretty sure he broke the guy's leg. I'm sure I saw a post of Takriti of an x-ray. So devastating leg kicks, and such a huge win for Noiri. Massive for him. I already saw on Twitter, or X if you prefer, Tetsuya, who is a fantastic follow if you are a one championship fan, posted a poll about who Noiri should face next, and the clear winner was Murat Grigorian in Japan. And I absolutely love that fight. That would be an absolute banger. Pressure style versus pressure style. Yeah, I mean, based on what we've seen from Noiri, I know which way I'm leaning, but I think that would be a really, really fun fight and a really fun matchup. And what better place to do it than Saitama when we go there in March for 1172. Up next, we had a contest, which I'm sure a lot of people decided to take a little bit of a break during. I, however, was pretty excited to see the return of Marcelo Garcia, a grappling legend. And he put on a show, absolutely dominated Masakazu Imanari, got a takedown, landed on top position, dominated from there, got a submission less than 5 minutes in. Yeah, as far as a return goes, I mean, don't get me wrong. As I tweeted out at the time, Marcelo Garcia is still very good. I don't think there was any doubt that he wasn't still going to be very good. Of course he was, despite being gone from competition for so long. But it was awesome to see him back. Awesome to see him put on just a Marcelo Garcia clinic, Imanari didn't really get anything in. And yeah, it was super cool. I really enjoy watching Marcelo at work, and he called afterwards for a matchup with Shinya, which he said was supposed to be the debut for him in one championship, but Shinya, they couldn't do it for some reason. I imagine that's because Shinya is going to be fighting in Japan. It's a shame, I think, that we didn't get I know why they've done Shinya and Foliang, but I would have much rather have seen Marcelo versus Shinya in Japan. Maybe that's just me, but I think that would have been a really cool moment for that Japan card, to have Marcelo compete in Saitama. against Shinya. I think that would have been really cool. But I'm happy to see that in the future. I think that would be fun. So, and it makes a lot of sense for both guys, I think. Though I do expect Marcelo Garcia to still be very, very good. We had a little bit of a weird fight up next between Marisa Bavey and Samat Mamadov. Samat Mamadov losing his undefeated record. Maurice Abavi continues to impress, I think, and should definitely get a big fight next time out. Although Mamadov seemed to tap to not much. I don't actually know what happened here. I haven't looked into this, so I do apologize. Let me know in the comments below what happened in this fight, because I saw Mamadov tap and I was like, wait, it's over? Did I miss something? And then I saw the replays and I was like, I don't think I missed anything. Worth noting at this time that I didn't have the commentary on because, as I said, in the UK, this card was on at about, I think it started at exactly 12 midday. And so I was working at the same time. So didn't have the commentary on. For this one, I did have the commentary on from this fight onwards, but I was still working at the time. Let's take, how hot is this tea? Still pretty hot. We'll leave it a couple more minutes. One of the fights I was really, really looking forward to on this card, the battle of the Johans, Ghazali versus Estupinan. Estupinan ended up getting the decision win. Both men scored knockdowns. Was it Ghazali? Ghazali got knocked down in the first. Estupinan got one in the second. Potentially fight-changing moment, but I felt like Ghazali didn't fight very well in the third round. I felt like if he went back to what he was doing in that first round, he would have had more success. In the first round, I thought he did a really good job of pressuring Estupinan, keeping him on the back foot. And Estupinan, doesn't, just tends to move backwards. He's very in and out and explosive. So Ghazali was throwing a lot of combinations that ended with a big overhand to try and catch Estupinan right at the end of the punch. Thought it was a good strategy. It seemed to be working. He landed a couple, but most importantly, he was keeping Estupinan backing up, and Estupinan wasn't able to kind of press off of that back foot and then go straight back in, as he does quite frequently. Second round, that kind of changed. Estupinan was able to get off a lot more shots, and successfully too. And I thought if Ghazali just went back to what he was doing in that first round, I think he probably could have won the third. But he just got a bit more reckless. It didn't seem like he was following Estupinan quite so well. He didn't feel like the overhands were being set up nearly as well. It just seemed a lot more reckless. And as a result, Estupinan was able to get off more shots off of that back foot, and it ended up with Ghazali just kind of walking into a lot of them. I'm sure that, I'm not placing the full blame of this on Ghazali. Of course, it takes two to tango. Estupinan made some good adjustments. He was able to start implementing the counter striking whilst moving backwards, and he was also able to back Ghazali up quite effectively at points as well. So a really, really important win for Johannes Estupinan, I think, who proves that, he can kind of, I think, graduate from this little group that they've been in, competing against, similar level of opponents, him and Ghazali. And I think Estupinan could probably go up a level, and we'll see what he's truly made of when he faces an opponent that maybe does have a bit more of a technical advantage over him. But again, the explosiveness, the athletic ability, it's just crazy. And it was cool to see those guys share a nice moment in the cage there. I've mentioned this time and time again. I don't know if I've mentioned it time and time again on here, but I've definitely mentioned it in other places. I like the Muay Thai and kickboxing in the cage. I just do. I don't know if that's a hot take. Maybe it's just because it feels different. It makes one stand out. But when I think of my favorite, a lot of my favorite fights and moments from one championship, they're inside the cage. It's what I picture in my head when I picture one championship. That being said, I do like Lumpini, and it is a lot of fun. But yeah, just a little tangent there to throw in. Moving on to Sinsumbut, who picked up the first bonus of the night for his knockout against Naozet Trujillo. Really, really important win here for Sinsumbut. Definitely needed this. got a big statement knockout as well, and I thought this was going to end up being a bit of a close one for Cincinnati. That is not what he needed. That is not what he got. He went out there, stopped Trujillo, looked impressive, beautiful shot to end the fight as well. Really, really impressive stuff from Cincinnati, who is clearly not done. And I think he needed that badly, and to get a bonus as well. Was yeah, super impressive for him. And what's that? His first win since he beat Bushin Shafi at one fight night 16. So yeah, he fought twice in 2024, didn't get a win. And yeah, prove that he's not going anywhere just yet. So big win for him. Also worth noting that Trujillo. One of the reasons why I thought he might end up being difficult for Sintima is, of course, the performance he put in against Liam Nolan last year, where he got that win. Worth noting that Liam Nolan. I'm going to take a sip of tea now. Liam Nolan, former lightweight contender, has retired. He hasn't fought since that loss against Trujillo. He posted a statement on social media, on his Instagram, to announce that, following some discussions with his family and things like that, and close friends and loved ones, he's decided to step back. And fair play to him. He's been a really great representative of English striking in one championship, seemingly on the cusp of a title shot for quite a long time. I genuinely thought that if he beat Trujillo, he would go on to face Reggie Ursel. Obviously, who knows how that would have played out because of Reggie's fights with Alexei Nicholas. So that didn't end up happening. So the Liam Nolan fight, yeah. Wishing nothing but the best for Liam Nolan on his decision to retire. But moving on to the next fight here is one of the big performances of the night from France. Is Bambara Kouyaté, who stopped former title challenger Joe Natawut in the first round. I felt bad, honestly, for Joe Natawut. Let's talk about Joe a little bit before we move on to Kouyaté and praising him for the incredible performance that he put on this card. But yeah, I just felt bad for Smoking Joe because he came so close to beating Tawanchai at 1167. I know a lot of people thought he did beat Tawanchai. I didn't disagree with the decision, but it was very, very close. And I thought they should have given him that trilogy against Tawanchai. Obviously, it was booked for 1169. Then it ended up being Smoking Joe versus Superbon. He gets stopped in the first round. And you're like, he already had a title shot, and now he doesn't. And now he's got back-to-back first-round knockout losses. I would love to see Smoking Joe take some time off, come back summer, maybe even later. Because yeah, as soon as he got knocked down for the first time against Kouyaté, it was like, oh, this is over. He's not getting back up from this. And maybe the decision to make this turnaround backfired for him, because he shouldn't have been in there that soon after being stopped by Superbon in the way that he was, I don't think. So yeah, I feel for Smoking Joe. I'm a big fan of his, and I don't think this decision paid off for him. And it doesn't feel like too much has paid off for him as of late. But I hope to see him back, of course. Back on top, I should say. And Bambara Kouyaté is a legit threat. I think could be the number one contender right now, not in terms of the rankings, but in terms of who will get the next shot. At Tawanchai, my money would be on Bambara Kouyaté right now. He looked impressive, of course, got a big knockout win over Luke Lisi in his fight before this one, and then goes out there and stops Joe Natawut. His range is a serious problem. Even the fight against Luke Lisi, who is also a very rangy opponent, he was just able to beat him to the punch and land the bigger shots without taking them. Of course, that's how fighting works, right? Stating the obvious there, but I was super impressed by Kouyaté. I didn't expect this. In hindsight, maybe should have, considering, like I said, the turnaround and things like that. But yeah, Kouyaté's dangerous. Very, very impressive. One final fight to get to before we move into the 3 title fights at the top of this bill. It was probably the fight of the night between Sexan and So Lin Oh. Everyone, we spoke about this in the preview. This fight was put on this card because you know that the fans are going to show up for it, both the Thai fans and the Burmese fans. Solonu is also from Burma, right? Yeah. Just double checking in case I get that wrong. I see Myanmar on the one website, and I'm like, whew, all clear. Banger of a fight. Of course it was. It was always going to be a banger of a fight. These two guys' styles just clashed so well together. And Sexan did what Sexan does, you know, when you put him in these crazy barn burner matchups, he comes out on top. It's what he does. And yeah, cool to see this fight. It was a lot of fun. Fans were way into it, and yeah, really, really good kind of tone setter before we get to the 3 title fights that topped this card. And when you've got 3 title fights on a card and they all produce finishes, I mean, you're in the money. You know that's a successful night at the office for the people at one for sure. Because the 3 final fights of this card were super entertaining. I think that it's maybe a little bit harsh considering that there were 3 champions that produced finishes in big fights. But I think the most noteworthy performance of the 3 might be Nabil Anane. This guy debuts in one championship, loses to Superleg, who makes their debut against Superleg at flyweight, moves to bantamweight, goes on a tear, stops Kulabdam, beats Nakrob, beats Felipe Lobo, beats. Did I already say Kulabdam? He's beat a lot of guys. Beats Solinu, comes in here, replacement opponent for Superlek, who withdrew from this fight. So the interim belt would be on the line. Winner goes on to face Superlek in Japan. And I thought Nico would be the favorite in this one. I just felt like he would be too powerful for Nabil. Too fast at closing the distance and just too powerful. And that was not the case at all. Nabil Anan is so good at using his range. And is he 6'4"? His range is ridiculous. And he, you know, you see a lot of guys. Maybe this is more in the MMA side of things than it is in Muay Thai. You see these rangy guys that just don't use it to their advantage. And Nabil uses it so well. Nico, you could tell his game plan was back Nabil up and look for that one big shot. I mean, I say that's his game plan for Nabil. It's pretty much what he does in every fight. It does lead to him taking some damage. We saw that in the Nongo fight because he doesn't go straight in and straight out. He kind of pressures and waits and looks for that one shot. All Nabil did was capitalize in that moment. In the end, you know, we didn't get to see how that pans out for him in the later rounds and things like that once Nico starts to find those spots, because Nabil caught him early and dropped him and then went on to drop him 2 more times to get the first round finish and become the interim champion. The head kick he landed to drop Nico for the second time, I thought the referee was going to wave it there. Nico ended up getting back to his feet, and maybe it looked worse than it actually was. But my God, it was brutal. The first shot that he caught Nico with was a beautiful punch. I know that Nico has since posted on social media to say that he's going to be moving up to featherweight from now on, which I think makes sense. You know, I don't think he needs to necessarily stick around if he doesn't want to. Move up to featherweight, why not? He's a big guy. Of course, you know, not big compared to Nabil, but big physically. It did make me laugh, as my friend Steve pointed out on Twitter. The commentary saying that whilst Nabil is tall, Nico is as wide as Nabil is tall, which is frankly a ludicrous statement. It's like, not to throw the commentary under the bus. I get what they mean. If you compared the sizes, Nabil is tall and slender. Nico's a bit shorter, still very tall for the weight class though, and just thick. The dude is built. But the idea of him being as wide as Nabil is tall is just hilarious to even imagine. But yeah, what a performance from Nabil. Sets up the rematch with Superlek in Japan. I cannot wait for that fight. That is going to be absolutely incredible. So interested to see how that goes. If Nabil goes out there and beats Superlek, insane. Like, genuinely insane. And I think there's a good chance. Like, I'm not saying I think I would still pick Superleg. He's just so smart. Um, but I'd say it's close. Um, in terms of where I'm leaning, I can see Nabil doing it for sure. What a star! What an absolute star! Um, Co-main event: Fabricio Andrade. A little bit like I said with Marcelo Garcia earlier on. Turns out Fabricio Andrade still a very good fighter. We haven't seen him compete in MMA for nearly 2 years. He comes back, faces Kwon Won Il again. Last time they fought, he stopped Kwon Won Il with a body shot in the first round. Comes back, does it even quicker. A beautiful body punch to end this fight in like 40, what was it, 42 seconds or something like that. I mean, I think there are some matchups you can make for Fabricio at bantamweight. Bataku, I think, is definitely in there for a shout. Don't I'm not super keen on seeing the John Lineker trilogy right now. Um, Stephen Lohman, I don't know what's happening over there. Artem Balak no longer with the promotion, so I think Bataku makes sense. That would be fun. We'll see how Fabricio matches up. Bataku will probably try and take him to the ground, so that could be an interesting one. But other than that, the boy's so good. He's so good. His striking is fantastic. He looks super sharp. Unsurprising. I expected a pretty dominant performance. Fabricio kept saying about how he wanted this one to go longer, like into the later rounds and stuff. That didn't happen. One body shot. I say one body shot. He obviously landed other strikes, but that one body punch was all she wrote. And of course, similar to Nabil Anane, he did win a performance bonus for this fight. Do you know what I also wouldn't be mad at? I mean, Fabricio's not the tallest, is the problem. Wouldn't mind seeing him go up a weight. Not to like I would like to see the Bataku fight first, just because I prefer champions to kind of take out the notable challengers before moving up or down a weight class. I mean, I don't know whether he could move down. If he could, I don't know whether he would fight Adriano, but Adriano versus Fabricio is an absolute belter. Like that is so good. Fabricio versus I guess Abdulayev. I mean, Tankai is technically the champion, but um, the champion has a name. You know what I mean? And I think Abdulayev would be too big. His wrestling is so good. But either way, I think that's an option for Fabricio in the near future. And finally, in the main event, Tawanchai defending his one featherweight Muay Thai World Championship in a rematch with the one featherweight kickboxing world champion Superbon. Their last fight went to a decision at One Friday Fights 46. I thought that Tawanchai, it was a close, it was a competitive fight, but I thought Tawanchai did enough. Maybe you're noticing a similar theme here that I think Tawanchai usually does enough to win, but the problem with that in recent times has been you're fighting Superbon and Joe Natwood, two Thai guys that are big fan favorites. I know Tawanchai has a big following too. Of course he does. But you're fighting fellow Thais that people love, and in some cases, specifically the Joe Natawut rematch last year, a lot of people thought Tawanchai didn't deserve to win that, and there was booze at the Impact Arena in the main event of 1167 when it came to an end. Very, very strange scenes. I never expected to see that, specifically in relation to a Thai champion in Thailand. It was kind of crazy. And I really felt for Tawanchai in that moment. His reaction on the mic was kind of heartbreaking in a way. And look, you might feel differently about this if you are either from Thailand or, I don't know, you might feel differently if you're a big Joe Natwood fan, whatever, all of these different things. As just someone who likes, I like both Tawanchai and Joe Natwood. I just wanted to watch a good fight. I really felt for Tawanchai in that moment. I really did. Because Joe Natwood was great in that fight. It wasn't like Tawanchai won a boring decision and got booed. It was a really competitive fight. It was a good fight, and it came right down to the wire. And Tawanchai got the nod. Um, so I think he really needed a big moment here. He, of course, I can't remember the artist's name, so I apologize, but he had an artist, I believe a Thai artist, play him down to the cage, and I was like, uh oh, this could end very badly. It didn't. Tawanchai stopped Superbon in the second round, hurt him badly with I want to say it was a right hand off the top of my head, and then goes on to stop him in that second round. He said before the fight that his boxing would be key in this one, which I thought was very interesting. Superbon, of course, both of these guys, two of the best kickers in Muay Thai. Um, but maybe, if there's an area where Superbon isn't amazing, it is his punching. But Tawanchai, I didn't really think is the opponent. I mean, we saw it in their first fight. Not really the opponent to take advantage of that. Um, he's not really going to look at the performances that the likes of Chingiz Alazov and Marat Grigorian have had against Superbon and go, well, I'm going to do the same thing because they're just so different. Tawanchai, I would say, is closer to Superbon than those two guys. I mean, indefinitely. And he was right. His punches did end up being the key. In the first round, he didn't really throw that many. It was a lot of both guys trading a couple of kicks. I thought Tawanchai won the round. I thought that his kicks were effective. And then, second round comes out, hurts Superbon with a big punch and gets the finish. So, it genuinely, after what happened at 167, and I love, look, who doesn't love Superbon? I saw people on Twitter saying this, like, I hate seeing Superbon lose, hate seeing him get stopped. And I agree. I love Superbon. He's so great to watch. One of my favorite strikers, maybe ever, probably ever. But I felt like I wanted to stand up and cheer, sat in this very chair watching this fight when Tawanchai got the finish, because I felt the emotion from Tawanchai. And he's not the most emotional guy either. That was the case at 1167 when he kind of was just a bit stunned by the whole thing. And, he was obviously a lot happier this time around, as you would expect. But what that means to him, it really was like a. I know that they filmed the Russell Crowe movie at this event. It really was like a movie moment. Redemption for Tawanchai in the same building that he, had that close fight with Joe Natwat. He talks about wanting to go fight in kickboxing. I wouldn't be mad at that. I think that he should get that if that's what he wants. At the same time, I think Bampara Kiyate versus Tawanchai is a fascinating matchup. It really is. So I would love to see that fight as well. Maybe that makes more sense to do next. Let Superbon have some time off, so that he can come back and then defend the title. There's not really right now anyone at featherweight in the kickboxing side of things that is going to really be urging Superbon to come back sooner rather than later. So I think he can take that time, and it's not too much doesn't have too much impact on the division. I 100% just spilled tea down myself, so that's where we're at right now. Obviously, unless your name's Chingiz Alazov, but I don't think he wants to come back. We're not going to talk about that today. Maybe we'll talk about it at another point. But we will end our chat about this card right here. As I mentioned at the start of this video, a little bit of an elephant in the room to mention here. If you follow me on social media, probably on Twitter, I imagine, then you'll know that this today, Monday, is the last week of my current job. I'm going to be changing jobs or changing. I'm still going to be doing the same job, but for a different company, if that makes sense. That starts next Monday. Currently, I do not know whether that means I can continue putting content up on this channel. I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. I imagine I can. Whether that will mean taking a couple of weeks off whilst I adjust to a new work schedule, a new workplace, right? It's going to take me a little bit of time to get used to that, and I could probably do without the distractions of creating YouTube content at the same time. So this will be the last video for a little bit. If I was thinking in an idealistic sense, it will be maybe 2 weeks off, and then I will be back. Whether it will be back to do the one report, whether it will be back to do some kind of video saying what is going to happen with this channel, I don't know. To tell you the truth, I don't know. But as always, I appreciate the support massively. Please do go follow me on social media. There's always in the description below where you can find me on Twitter or Blue Sky if you prefer. Although I really need to post on Blue Sky more. I'm really, really terrible at forgetting to do that. But I'm trying. We're trying to do it. So please go follow me there so you can stay updated with everything that I'm doing. Do subscribe. I promise you that this will not be the last video on this channel. We aren't just going to disappear. I will be back. It might just be a couple of weeks. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you guys coming, checking in. Let me know your thoughts on these fights in the comments below. Which fights do you want to see next? And I will see you in the near future. Until then, as always, enjoy the fights. Peace.